Beyond.
Hey,
everybody. Welcome to Podcast Beyond, episode 397. I'm one of your hosts, Marty Sleeve. Max Scoville's not here because he's got tummy troubles.
Yeah.
Aww.
Big tummy troubles in little Scoville. But with me instead, back from his European vacation, Brian Altano.
Speaking of Italy,
Andrew Goldfarb.
Hey.
You're back by popular demand once again. And, of course, everyone's favorite, Jared Petty.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, he is kind of everybody's favorite.
No,
he's a man of the people.
I want to be a man of the people.
this is a good squad.
No, I wasn't saying that in like a pejorative bad
Squad.
way.
This is the terror squad of 2015.
This is a
Yeah.
team.
Yeah.
Squad
It's a team.
goals.
Yeah, Andrew could be Fat Joe.
Andrew, I missed you. I haven't podcasted with you in a very long time.
Yeah, we did that one NBC. I was in the office for like a day.
Yeah. About Earthbound.
Yeah.
That was a while ago.
No, we didn't we do one with me, you, and Jose and Pear like a month ago?
I don't.
And then we did. I was in the comedy.
I didn't expect this.
Are you giving me the finger? You were giving me the finger while you were drinking.
Okay,
You were
well,
like, I haven't podcasted with you in so long.
People listen to the show. They can't see.
Oh, that's true.
Theater,
It's a
theater
visual
of the
medium.
mind.
It's good to have you back.
So wait, we
Thanks,
can't
man.
curse anymore.
It's
Do
good
we
to
go
be
to
back.
obscene gestures? Is that the idea?
Yeah, probably.
Okay.
Well, I have to be leading this thing, so I'm not going to be writing down the curses, so there's probably going to be a lot of curses in this episode.
Yeah.
Visual
That happens.
curses.
That's
Of course, this is the internet's #1 PlayStation podcast, and as so, we're going to talk about a whole lot of things PlayStation. We're going to talk about the little kerfluffle that caused over the Vita. Whether the Vita is a legacy hardware or not.
Yeah, the whole talking about all things PlayStation might have gotten a little smaller.
No, it might have gotten a little smaller.
Here and forever.
We're going to talk about XCOM 2, which everyone's stoked for. Not coming to PlayStation.
That's
I don't know
right.
how the hell's that happening?
Well,
Yeah, we'll get into that. We're going to talk about what the hell the Sony first parties are up to. We'll talk about what dormant franchises we want to return. And we're going to, of course, talk about E3. 'Cause that's
Yeah.
what we do.
Yay.
Yay.
Oh my God, it's so soon. It's 2 weeks from today. It's press conference
It's
day.
hard to believe it's that soon.
Hard to believe.
But yeah, the Vita had a weird little week last week.
So they backtracked.
Yes, they
on
did.
So like the basic news is that during presentation, Andy House referred to the Vita as a.
You call him Andy House.
Should I not?
I mean, he's Andrew House, but I didn't realize you guys were on like
I don't know.
colloquialisms.
I'm sure you can call him Andrew House. Is it weird now? Did I just out our relationship?
Is he Drew House? Andrew
Okay,
House?
I'm sorry.
Sounds like you made that Andrew House
We
at
haven't-
home.
Oh, that was in my head. It wasn't at my lips.
A PlayStation home. We have a ice cream store called Andy and Andy's Ice Cream. No, so during presentation, during like an investor presentation, he referred to the
weird
Vita
man
as
you
a
are.
legacy platform.
Yep.
They backtracked later and said he was referring to the phased out like fat Vita, the OLED Vita,
Yeah.
and that he wasn't referring to the Vita Slim.
Do you buy that? Yeah.
Maybe, I mean, this is a matter of what audience he's speaking to. I mean,
Yeah.
when he's talking to us, maybe he doesn't want us to hear that. When he's talking to people who are investing money,
Yeah.
it's possible to speak two truths at once.
Yeah,
depending
totally.
on who your
I think
audience
that's
is.
a good point, and I think that's something people forget at this time of year and in earnings calls and at E3 is that like E3 is primarily a show that's not for you and me, right? It's
Right.
not for we're for the press, so I guess it is, but it's not for like the public. It's more for like buyers and like retailers and investors and things like that. So that said, like I do think that he may have meant it to some degree. You're smiling at me. Why are you so
I'm
smiling?
just thinking about Obi-Wan Kenobi saying, "So what I told you was true from a
Oh.
certain point of view."
You're like a swamp ghost.
But yeah, I mean, look, I don't think they're gonna stop active development in every Vita project or anything. I don't think they're literally considering a legacy the way PSP is or like PS2.
Yeah.
But I do think that we're gonna see less or fewer, first-party games made for it.
Yeah,
sure.
I mean, that's what when a lot of people wrote in asking, like, what do we think Vita's presence at E3 is going to be? And I said, I think it's going to be tied to whatever indies are on Sony stages. And I think whatever indies are on there are going to be PS3, PS4, and Vita. Like,
Yeah.
predominantly, like, they're going to be cross-buy,
Yep.
cross-save. That's going to be awesome. That's what I love. But if you're expecting Infamous, if you're expecting God of War, if you're expecting that BioShock game, you shouldn't expect that because that's foolish of you because that game is not coming out.
It's
That was
very
never actually a video game.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, the number I see batted around is around 10 million, usually for the install base on this thing. That's that's slightly more than the Sega Saturn of all things. There's not a huge group, but there's another side of this coin, and that's that the people who buy Vitas buy video games. They
Sure.
buy lots.
Yep. Yeah.
The
and
attach rate is
lots.
insane.
Exactly. And that's the difference. But not difference. I mean, the Saturn was the same way. That was the hardcore gamers, the import gamers console at that period of time. And I think the parallels are somewhat appropriate there.
It seems like nowadays you can be a system like that and not fail in the same way. Like we saw so many handhelds and consoles burn out in the 90s, whereas a system selling even half that many units now might actually stick around a little longer. Like the Wii U's not doing terrific, but it's getting games still, you know. The
and
Vita's not
Vita's-
dead in the water, and
Vita's-
it's been kind of on life support for a few years, but
And unlike Wii U, like Vita is part of this larger ecosystem.
Yes.
Like it does have very like tangible ties to PS4, and
Yep,
it is like remote play is awesome. I would say remote play is like legitimately one of the coolest features of PS4. Can't do it without a Vita. And I think there's value in that. And I think like stuff like MLB, like the show, like it does make sense to have it on Vita. I do like the cross save stuff. I think they'll keep doing that. Like I think things like that I can see on Vita for the foreseeable future. I just think that I agree with you. Like I don't know that I'm going to say we never see a one last ditch effort for like a God of War or a Infamous or something, but or maybe we start seeing some more ports.
It's
PS3 ports down or something.
I mean,
but
that would be interesting if the Uncharted trilogy, the Uncharted collection that we all assume is going to be revealed at E3, if something like that was also on Vita.
It would be.
Do you think Uncharted 3 could run on Vita?
No.
I mean,
Yeah. I mean, like Golden Abyss is. It looks great.
I mean, so that's the thing.
but
It's like
it was built for the ground up.
Yeah, very early on in the Vita's lifespan, we got Golden Abyss at launch, and then we got I think what the next year was Liberation, AC Liberation, like these gorgeous games that did manage
They were
to
original.
And then Killzone.
original. The
Original.
Killzone game is gorgeous.
Yep.
Um,
And that's technically the same engine as the PS3 games.
But again, if you don't think you're going to sell enough of them, yes, Vita owners do buy video games, and some of them would go out and buy this. But I don't know if you're going to be able to make the case to continue through a long development cycle for a AAA caliber Vita game. I think the days of seeing Vita games for sale in stores are pretty much over.
Well, especially
But
because
go ahead.
a lot of those
Freedom
first-party
Wars was the
published
last big
games.
one?
I think Freedom Wars is the last
I
official
agree.
first-party game. And if you look at like Little Deviants, Unit 13, like those studios closed like immediately after.
Gravity Days 2 is being worked on, right?
Yeah, and that's the big question now, right?
Yeah.
Like, what if it's
Where does
that
PS4?
go?
What if it's
Yeah.
I mean, they soft announced it. What was that? That was like at Gamescom like 2 years ago, I think.
That was back when you were IGN's news editor.
That's right. Oh God, those were the days, huh?
But,
and yeah, now I think like, what if that is PS4 only? Like, it's probably both. But like, Sony's this weird history of announcing Vita games and then kind of backing off of it. Like, Sound Shapes, started as Vita and then kind of moved its way up, which is awesome. Like, I mean, Sound Shapes, I actually do play more on my PS4. But it's a great Vita game, and if it had been an exclusive Vita game, I think I don't know if it would have moved units or anything, but I think it would have still been just as good of a game.
I feel like I've kind of alluded to this before on the show, but I think even aside from sales, the vision of trying to create the AAA home console experience on a small screen in any handheld anywhere just never really works.
Yeah.
Like I think even on the iPhone, most people aren't really playing games with headphones on. They're not playing like they're checking their email every now and then or getting texts. Like that sort of immersion that you get of sitting on a couch with surround sound headphones and playing something like Bloodborne. Like people just aren't looking for that on a
like,
handheld.
I can play BioShock on my iPhone, but I would never.
But why
do
would
it.
you do that?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so why go to the trouble to create something original when it's so darn expensive?
Yeah,
Instead,
totally.
you can create the kind of games that have made Vita thrive. These wonderful kind of mid-tiered and independent games that work really well in a handheld experience, look beautiful on that screen.
Like I think about like Guacamelee, Sound Shapes, stuff like that, which was fantastic on Vita. But then trying to play something like Killzone, I'm like, it's cool and it's awesome they're doing this, but like,
This is how I want to play a shooter.
yeah.
Yeah, or even like something like Broken Age, which is like perfectly great on other platforms, but I'm really enjoying it on Vita. Like I actually am enjoying it more than when I started on my
I'm
Mac.
hoping Bloodstain, that's the name of it, right? The Igarashi's Kickstarter.
Yes.
It's just
It's
trampling
gonna
all
hit
these
it.
goals, but its next goal, I
It
think,
is like
Vita,
11
Vita,
days left.
Which
yeah.
that would be like I would love to play that. That's a kind
That'd
of
be
game I'd
perfect.
play.
Totally.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And I mean, it's a bummer because there are so many good ideas that could have been viable on Vita, like the Batman Arkham Origins.
Yep.
What was that called?
Blackgate or
Blackgate.
Blackgate. Bloodgate. Everything has
Blackgate,
blood in the
but-
title. I can never
No, I
remember.
think it's
Black. Batman Arkham Origins Blackgate. I think it is.
Batman Origins Batgate.
Yikes!
Well. All right. Well, that was a good
Yikes of the
show.
week, starring Marty Sleep.
Everyone noticed I'm the only one not laughing.
Yikes of the week.
I'm not even repeating the name of that. Wow.
Anyway, I think
If you're a Beyond fan, mock up that box art. I know, don't do that. Don't even do that.
that was by Armature. That had
Yep.
I was more excited for that than I
That's a
was
bunch of
for
old
Arkham
Metroid Prime
Origins.
devs.
And yeah, exactly. And then when it came out, it just didn't quite work. And I think there have been a few like Liberation.
Well, to be fair, I don't think that was really a great game.
No,
Like, that
that's
was
what I'm
kinda-
saying.
That
though.
was more the issue.
But
Like,
I think on paper, if that had, I guess what I'm saying is if that had been a great game, like could it have changed Vita's tides?
Well,
like, or if like
you're sort of thinking if that was a great game and if Vita was selling more, would we be getting these sort of secondary experiences to all the big AAA
for
games?
third party? And
Would
that's
there
the
be
thing.
a Witcher Vita game that's different than
Exactly.
Witcher 3? Would
Right.
there be a Shadow of Mordor game that's maybe like a 2D thing?
Well,
because that's the thing, like there's no third party, like the if you look, right, if you look at Killzone, if you look at Uncharted Golden Abyss, like obviously those are first party games, but you're really not seeing very many of those experiences that are by third parties.
Yeah.
There was obviously AC Liberation, but that was in 2012.
Yeah.
And it's like there hasn't been, or maybe 2013,
No,
but
it's
there
12.
hasn't been another.
No, it's 12.
losing Monster Hunter for that time to 3DS.
Yeah,
was
that's
a really
yeah,
big
that's
deal.
huge.
Yep.
That
I
was
mean-
hard. I mean, that's the thing. Like Vita, Vita is like, I'm not saying this hyperbolically. Vita is probably my favorite system that I own. I think I spend more time because I travel a lot. What I say, did my previous job, and I kind of am now. Like I spend more time with my Vita than any other
Well, I mean,
console
you're
or
homeless.
handheld.
You don't
I
have a
own.
home. So.
I am technically homeless right now. That's
Vita and
true.
your junkyard dog.
you're
Thank you to
living
Greg and Colin for
Your
letting me
Vita?
stay on their couch.
You're living under your Vita right now.
Yeah, but I love the Vita, and I really do think like it's a great little system, and I think like there have been a lot of third-party efforts that tried and maybe didn't quite live up to what people were hoping for. I would hate to see the Vita go away altogether. Like I like that indies are keeping it alive. There are a lot of cool games coming that have Vita ports. I mean, like Broken Age is awesome.
Yep.
There are, I don't know, like I guess my brain is blanking right now, but there are a lot of
Brain
indies looking
blanking.
stuff.
That's okay.
Brain
Brain
blanking
blanking.
is a good game, yeah.
Most
think
of
it's-
the I was
Go
gonna
ahead.
say most of the Telltale stuff ends up on there. You know,
Yeah,
which is
Telltale
like,
stuff.
I always
I'm excited for Severed.
yeah.
Severed, yeah.
Oh yeah, totally.
yeah.
I-
The
There are a lot.
things
game's
Hyper Light
awesome
Drifter,
looking,
I think, is a Vita version. There are a lot. Like there are a lot of cool upcoming indie games that
No,
are
we're
still
see-
going to be
we're-
portable.
Like you said, last year at E3, like you went to the Sony's booth and there was just like 24
Yep.
Vitas lined up with all sorts of rad games.
yeah,
Well,
that
it
they don't
becomes-
talk about in the press conference.
It becomes a boutique system at this
Yeah.
point. And that's what it always was to a degree, but that's really okay. The
Yeah.
world needs its Neo Geos and its Sega Saturns. It
Yeah.
needs this,
Yeah.
this thing that this is the game to impress your, or the console to impress your friends with. I mean, go out there and play wonderful things. The games designed for hardcore gamers are going to be targeted at this more and more here in this last end of the cycle because they know what the audience is going to be.
Also,
They know
with,
the attach rate.
with PlayStation Plus, it's one of those things where like every month I get a cool game to play on my Vita.
Yeah.
A lot of times
Seriously.
I'm like, I already own this, but this is awesome that people can now play
Yeah.
Ho-Ho.
But it also, like, I think the Vita was obviously very slow, like, early on. And so a lot of people did miss, like, Uncharted Golden Abyss and Unit 13, these games that I think
So,
got,
yeah.
like, you look at them, if you didn't want to buy a Vita and you looked at them and you were like, like, I don't really need to, I'm not going to buy a Vita for this, like, B-list Uncharted game or, like, whatever people thought it was upon first glance. But then if you, like, picked up the cheaper model, picked up the Borderlands 2 bundle or whatever, and now you have it, like, yeah, like, if you go back and play it for free, oh, wait, that Uncharted game is really good. And, like,
Well,
Gravity Rush
Rush
is
is
really
rad.
good.
Yeah.
The Vita was sort of it was kind of created underneath that old Sony mentality of like let's make this boutique, very expensive system
With
that has
proprietary memory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's-
And that 3G, what was up with that? What,
yeah,
they
I
never
mean,
really did anything
No,
with
no
it.
one knew what that meant.
I
or
think Mark Ryan is the only one I know who still has a 3GB.
Yeah,
that he
and
like
it's-
actively
and
plays.
it's like you look at the Sony now. That's just like the way they came out at E3 2 years ago, being like our system's cheaper and you can trade games and everything's free for blah blah blah. It's a nonstop party. Everyone wins. And a couple years ago, they were just kind of like this was a couple years after they were like $600 PS3s and you'll get a second job. And then they were like, look at the Vitas, and they started talking about like I remember they were talking about like the handheld ghetto and like we're gonna take the handheld out of the ghetto. And it's like well, the ghetto's fine. Like we want to be in the ghetto. The ghetto's really fun. It's cheap. Like and it's where you see people playing handheld games now predominantly are on their iPhones and they're playing like short, easy, whimsical, fun experiences, whereas like deep immersive things are just not really there. So I feel like it's a weird product of its time, but the way it will be remembered will be positively. People will look back at the Vita with they'll really cherish it. And no system ends like
Yeah, no one ends with a mic drop.
It's a
Everything-
slow death.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's whisper.
every
Yeah.
video
sort of-
game system ever dies slowly. There's like these whimpering
It dies.
swan songs.
It dies with a
that-
FIFA game that only comes
Yeah.
out in Brazil
Yeah.
6
Yeah.
years after.
I
How's
think-
that
I
sound?
think the
America's most positive podcast.
The original PlayStation is the one kind of glorious exception to that because they had the backwards compatibility built right in.
Sure.
Sure.
And so you were just sitting there going, and the thing, you had it. Good PlayStation games ended right around the moment that good PlayStation.
Yeah.
2
Well, and
went
Final Fantasy
PS2,
IX,
I
you
think,
had
yeah.
Chrono Cross.
Yeah,
I think
it had its
PS2
good
had
kind
a
of
graceful
fade out.
death also.
P-
like,
PS2
God of War
was just
2,
like-
Okami and Kingdom Hearts 2 was
and
all-
Persona 4, like, and just that beautiful slim model in the very
Well, even
end.
5 years after that, you were like, "Wow, you're still alive!" Like there were still PS2 games.
got a
coming
Madden
out.
game?
Yeah.
Yes, I agree
Yeah.
with all that. We'll see what Sony has up to
I don't think the Vita is dead yet. I do think that indies will keep it alive for at least another year, and I think there are games that are great on it. It's funny though, because the games I play, like, I don't use touch, and I don't use, like, I remember when they first announced it as the NGP, whatever year that was, 2011, I guess. It was like, oh my god, like, it has every feature you could ever imagine in a handheld. Like, they were just like every single thing I could think of.
It was the Homer Simpson car on paper.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But like, I don't use any of those features.
Well, because everyone sort of overwhelmingly hated using a lot of those features. Like rear touch really didn't work with a lot of stuff outside of like Tearaway and a few other things.
And that's the thing, like, Tearaway is the perfect example of what I think the Vita could have been, because Tearaway is so good and so smart, and Little Big Planet Vita is really, really good too. Like, it uses those features in a smart way, but the early games like Liberation, like Uncharted, it just felt a little more gimmicky. I mean, the launch of any system does that. Exactly. And I don't know.
Honestly,
I think
to me, Tearaway is the only one that's done it right. And we're gonna talk about Tearaway later, but Tearaway.
Oh, are we? I love Tearaway. It's a good game.
Yeah.
It's the Jared Petty of games.
Oh,
that's how you end
Andrew, why are you being so nice to
people's
me
game.
today?
That's how you end a segment.
Andrew, thank you for being so sweet.
Thank you for being you, Jared.
You guys are
Let's
both-
get ice cream
guys
after
are
this.
awful.
I'm really
you
good.
guys
I
are
like
both
ice cream.
terrible. You know,
You should have. You know what? Who has a great relationship? Marty and I. We just hate each other all the time.
we
we love each other.
I love that you tweeted him having you back at the same continent is insufferable.
Marty and I had a Twitter war a couple months ago that was just one of my favorite things we've ever done.
What was the nerd fight about?
Well,
No,
we
it
were
was
just we were just like
very mean to each other on Twitter
For
but
no
then
reason.
texting each other how like much we were enjoying this.
Yeah.
And people were like, man, you guys seem really angry.
you
at
guys
each other."
breaking up.
Is this like repressed sexual tension? Or?
No,
little
we're
bit.
just making fun of each other because we're both cartoon characters.
Yeah,
and
we're
we're both
not-
ugly,
that's fair.
awful, alcoholic bastards.
Okay, fair.
That's a real talk.
You don't have to censor any of that.
No,
Leave it in
we're
there.
good. That's
Well,
just
what would be censored there?
I don't know. Why don't you
Bastard?
figure it out?
Do you have
Ugly?
to censor the word bastard? Jon Snow says it all the time.
You want some too? You want to come? You want to come get some?
Yeah, I can take it. I
real.
have
Come Seth Green.
No, you're coming with me to get ice cream. You don't need to go over there.
And Andy and Andy's ice
For the
cream.
love of Christ, I'm trying to segue to the second story 20 minutes into this goddamn podcast.
Welcome to our new segment. For the love of Christ.
I'm not writing that down. Whatever. I have to host a show. I'm not going to write that one, I swear. XCOM 2. That's IGN's IGN first for the month.
We
of
need to start a list
June.
called PlayStation Please of games, of games that are not announced for PlayStation but should, like this, Tomb Raider, and a bunch of other ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like
just
that.
those two.
That's actually
Yeah,
a
just
really
those-
good idea,
And
Brian.
Mario
We should-
Strikers.
Where's Mario Strikers?
Still holding on to that one.
I like that game.
Tim Wizenhunt wrote in and said,
Mario and soccer. What could go wrong?
everything could go wrong.
Have you ever played Super Mario Strikers?
Yes, I
That's
have.
a wonderful game.
I'm Italian. I
Mark.
grew up playing Super Mario Strikers. That was my.
What?
That was playing kickball
That was
in
my
your backyard.
Yeah.
Look, the dinosaur from next door is coming over.
Against Mario Batali.
Oh, there's Wario. Wario's here. He's gonna fart on the ball and kick it through the net.
What the hell's wrong with you? Damn it.
Tim Wizenhunt wrote in and said, Beyond.
Beyond.
Today's IGN
Beyond.
first revealed a game that I'm super excited for, XCOM 2. When I was
Yay.
catching up my Twitter feed at home this morning, I saw that Ryan McCaffrey posted a link to the announcement. I literally shouted in excitement. Much to my dismay,
That's awesome.
I like the idea that
His wife is like, is everything okay?
I was about to say his mom. We think Tim is different ages. I guess you could have a wife and a mom. You have a wife and a mom, right?
Yeah, a lot of people have wives and moms. You looked at me like I'm an anomaly.
You are.
Or like he's 100 years old.
But much to my dismay, he also said it will not be on consoles, and he'll explain why later. That is a new story we have going up, I believe, later this week, maybe later this month.
Friday, I think.
Friday. All that setup leads to my questions. Do you think Xbox 2 or XCOM 2? Do you think Xbox 2 will come to consoles? Will XCOM 2 come to consoles? Have you had a game that you were very excited and become walled off due to some form of platform exclusivity? Brat, brat, pizza whistles.
Ooh, comedy button references.
That's my show.
That's my show.
Isn't that a debriefings reference?
Pizza whistles? Yeah, pizza whistles started way back on the IGN debriefings.
Oh, I remember.
Are those like candy
Games Workshop.
whistles?
No, they're like whistles made of pizza. It's hard to explain. Let's just power through
Great.
it.
We got through the question and then just
Yeah.
went right back into the quagmire. Vietnam War.
So, do you think XCOM 2 will come to home consoles? We'll talk about that soon, I guess. The answer
No, I
is
mean,
no.
so the answer is no.
Yeah.
XCOM 2 is PC exclusive.
So the PlayStation Please list now only has one game
Right,
on it,
but- okay, but-
not including Mario Striker.
the thing in this industry is that, like, yeah, I believe them when they say they don't have plans for it, but it's like, yeah, they probably didn't plan to put Bioshock on iPhone, but like that happened 8 years later.
And also
like,
XCOM 2 Game of the Year Edition or XCOM
Exactly.
2 Enemy Within.
Didn't
Enemy Unknown or whatever the
Mikami
second
say if Resident Evil 4 came to any other
cut his
platform,
head
he would
off.
literally cut off his own head?
exactly.
Which is the best.
Yeah.
And we haven't seen him since.
No.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the thing, right? So, I like, obviously it's trite, but never say never. Like, I really do think that yeah, down the road, let's say XCOM 2 sells super, super well. Like, if they can find a way to make it work, they'll bring it to
Oh, I'm
PlayStation.
laughing. You say never say never. You're like a Demi Lovato movie.
But not
Demi
in the
Lovato movie.
But at that point,
Yeah.
not in the foreseeable future. As for stuff being walled off by content, I mean, every Nintendo game ever, that's something that gets walled off, and
Yeah.
we've gotten
I mean,
used to the fact
but-
we're not going to play
But,
that across
but
platform.
growing up, did you guys ever just not have a console where you were like, man, I wish I would have. Like,
Yeah.
I never had a Saturn, so I never got to play Panzer Dragoon Spy. Like,
Yeah.
I was
Radiant
super late to
Silver Dawn.
PS1. I was like not a PlayStation kid at all. Like I was very into Nintendo, and then I got a PS1 very, very late, and,
Yeah.
and so like I was trying to play catch up for a long time. I think like it's more last generation. It was more about like when they were playing like the back and forth of exclusives. Like I remember really wanting to play as the Joker in Batman Arkham Asylum, but you could only do it on
Yeah.
PlayStation, and I was
Yeah.
playing on Xbox.
That stuff
like
really
that.
annoyed me.
Yeah,
I bought an Xbox to play Red Dead because I had been a PC guy
Yeah.
up to that
Yep.
point.
Yep.
And I went out and bought a console to play Red Dead.
I was primarily playing PlayStation when Alan Wake came out, and I was like, oh, I really want to play Alan Wake. It's like stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit different for us now because we just sort of, as our jobs, we have access to these consoles. We sort of need to have these consoles to stay up to date on things.
I feel like nowadays it's a little more acceptable, or kind of not. It's like you should be a little bit more platform agnostic. And I know this is a PlayStation centric podcast, but like you should, like, we're adults. Grow up, like play games on other platforms. It's just a plastic box that is video games. Nobody
But I
cares.
understand like the price, the
Sure,
barrier to entry.
that's
the one real.
that's
thing.
a different thing. I think like the fanboyism and the actual buying a separate console for a game. But like I mean, I know that like every system launch, like I bought my Xbox One at launch, and I still don't really know why.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
did because I was just like, there's going to be some cool experiences there, and I didn't really find them. For
I
a
buy
while.
every system at launch, and then
Yeah,
find myself.
I do.
saying,
I
"Oh,
do the
yeah."
same exact thing now.
No, I don't. I don't buy systems at launch. I bought a Wii at launch because I had a good launch library, and I was very happy with it. But
Yeah.
I wait because
What,
I'm a
Wii Sports?
cheapskate.
What was the good
No,
launch
you had
library?
Wii Sport. You had Wii Sports. You
Oh,
had
that's right.
Zelda.
Well, if you hadn't played it, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You had Zelda, you had Wii Sports, you had the stupid Rayman game where you threw cows. That was cute. You had WarioWare Smooth Moves. You had Paper Mario
I guess
within
the
the
Wii
first
did
like
have a lot.
month. You had
Trauma Center.
Trauma Center. Yeah, you actually it had a really good
You cut
launch.
a man open in that, I guess, right?
There were
All right, I
some
take it back. There were
fine
really good
games.
lineup.
Plus Virtual Console, which was
Jerry,
amazing at the
you're
time.
being so mean to me right now.
Well,
Take it
yeah,
back.
I just put it to ruin.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
having said that, then you have other things came along later. But I'm a cheapskate. I mentioned buying an Xbox, not here on the PlayStation podcast. I bought that at that point because it was cheaper than the PS3.
Yep.
Yep.
And I think the price, these things are expensive.
I know, admittedly, like I get kind of, and I know I just went on a mini rant about fanboyism, but I get kind of pushed away by some PC gaming stuff when it's like, when it seems like the only way to play it is on the best PC in the world, and I don't have one of those, or the capacity to go build one.
Well,
Yeah.
don't let those guys fool you. PC is still my home platform. And despite what you hear most of the time, if you knock something down to moderate settings, you can play it on a moderate PC 90% of the time.
Yeah, and like seriously, like I think like the whole Steambox initiative like is a viable.
I know.
solution for
I
you.
can't
Like,
wait to see
really
that.
think that's
I mean, for someone who specifically said what he just said, who doesn't
Yeah.
want to spend $1,200.
But Goldfarb, you
building
were
it.
also like, you were penning those stories about the Steambox stuff when you worked here 2 years ago, and you're
Yeah.
back, and that still hasn't come into fruition.
Sure. Yeah. Okay.
in
I
the
don't think it's a
way-
viable platform in terms of like.
I think
doing
the
well,
the
but
idea
yeah.
of it was, but
Yeah.
you know,
Well,
whatever.
okay, again,
Yeah,
let's talk about that though. Is my living room right now is a PC rigged up to my television set, running Steam with their cool little whatever the interface is called for Steambox that they planned, and it runs there. I sit there with a controller and control my PC pretty much like a console and use it the same way. And the web browser's built in,
Yeah,
and
but
the
you're
game browser's built in.
you're wired.
But it
very
wasn't hard.
special.
It wasn't just.
You're a different
I
type
thought you
of
were going to
dude.
say you're wily.
But this was not a hard thing to set up at all.
I feel like
nor-
you're the kind of guy that can get away with like there's an outlet in the corner that has six things plugged into it.
What do you
You.
mean? Like outlet, like the Christmas Story Christmas tree thing?
Yeah,
Okay.
and your wife's just like, I understand him. It's okay. I don't have that luxury.
There's some truth. to
Goldfarb
that.
stayed in my apartment for 2 weeks. It's very minimal in there.
Yeah, it is. There's a Brian Altano corner.
Oh wow! What is the Brian Altano corner?
an
What's in
It's
it?
just- Amiibo prison.
It's a big picture of a pizza
Lots
and
of spaghetti.
a map of Italy.
that is weirdly accurate.
Yes.
Yep.
So we're gonna talk about games that are coming to PlayStation, but we're gonna talk about not necessarily coming to PlayStation, but we're gonna figure out what the hell is coming to PlayStation because we got a letter in,
Ooh, look at that segue. That was a good segue.
yeah, from Kevin Behar. One of you guys want to read this?
Oh, I
letter?
thought that was gonna go pet Kevin Bacon. It was so close.
No, it was
Whoa.
Kevin Bacon writes this podcast
Joy
so often.
Behar's husband, Kevin Behar.
6 degrees of Kevin Behar.
Did I ever tell you about how? Never mind.
You might
No,
say
are you gonna
Behar?
tell us a
I
story
saw
about
Kevin Bacon's
Schwantz?
penis at San Diego Comic-Con 2012.
Like-
the Hard Rock Hotel. We were both going to the bathroom at the same time, and their bathroom was a trough. There are no there are no dividers, and we were next to each other.
And you looked?
I looked.
What'd you think?
I mean, it was nice. I don't know, it was fine.
It shows up in Hollow Man. It's on film. Like, you can see it in the movie if you want.
No, but it was invisible. I saw this. It was not invisible. It was visible to the naked eye, and that was my eye.
Wow.
Brian, you want to read this?
I don't want to read anything now.
To Kevin Bacon's attorneys, to send your libel suit, contact.
I said it was nice.
Man, it's like that trough at 21st Amendment.
Kevin Behar asks, hey, Beyond Crew, Sony currently has 12 first-party studios under their belt, and only 5 have natively released a game, while Studio Japan and Sony Santa Monica have taken on more of publishing roles with Bloodborne and The Order 1886. Sony also has deep relationships with various studios outside of their first-party stable, i.e. Housemarque, Quantic Dream. This begs the multi-million-dollar question, what the hell are all of these other studios up to? Some studios have multiple teams, i.e. Naughty Dog, Guerrilla Games, Media Molecule. Which studios will be showing off their games at E3, and which studios will be showing their games at Paris Games Week? Which studios are you anxiously awaiting a reveal for? Fingers crossed for Guerrilla Games Project Horizon to be at E3. Thanks, and keep up the great work. Beyond. Also, Andrew Goldfarb sucks.
Oh, it doesn't say that. I have the paper, Brian.
I added that.
They're all making The Last Guardian.
Right, exactly. It's a group effort. Well, I mean, I think it's really interesting. Yeah, I think it's really interesting.
How many soldiers need to fall into that hole from 300? Everyone's thinking The Last Guardian. Come on.
I love that image. It's just developers piling.
It's like lemmings, but like each one's like holding.
It's the only time I'll make a reference to that dumb.
I think it's interesting because I think the first party studios, everyone feels like they're so shrouded in secrecy, and it's like, what are they doing? Are they just hanging out? But at the same time, like, we do know Guerrilla has a project, and we do know Media Molecule has a project. Like, so it's not like like they do have something happening.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, obviously they're all working on something. Sony Bend is working on something. Quantic Dream is working on something. But
but Quantic Dream isn't owned. Like, Quantic Dream is I mean, and that's what's interesting, right? Is like there are clearly like a trillion PS4 projects in the works, and plenty of these first-party studios have cool stuff happening, maybe even Vita stuff. But like, I think that like Media Molecule was on stage with the tech demo, and they were like, "Yeah, this will be part of our PS4 project." And Guerrilla, like, obviously there is like a very heavy-handed
RPG-ish dinosaur open world.
We've seen concept art for it, exactly. So it's like,
that sounds so awesome.
I mean, like, I don't know. We were talking about this last week a little bit. Like, I would rather that stuff stay like quiet, and then when they're ready to announce it, they announce it, rather than if they announce it this E3 and then it takes 4 years to come out, everyone freaks out.
But I understand people's frustrations, because when you look at first-party lineups, like the first-party Microsoft lineup is a lot better right now.
I know.
Just because we have, like, we know Forza 6 and Halo 5 and Gears
Fable.
of War and that Fable's.
Well, but it exists, like, whether it's good or not.
But where you have, like, with Sony, you're just like, man, aside from Naughty Dog, like.
Yeah, and the bigger problem is that they did that thing, I think it was at Gamescom 2 years ago, where they literally were like, all of these studios are working on PS4 games, and they showed all their logos, and then we've seen like
later.
2 of those announced.
Yeah.
I mean, I
I
get
don't know.
that.
Supermassive isn't first party, right? The Until Dawn dudes.
No.
So we have Sony Bend. We don't know what they're doing. Everyone thinks Siphon Filter, but I don't know if that's a thing people care about anymore.
Yeah. I mean, I have no. I mean, God, Sony Bend has been working on something for a pretty long time. I would assume, because like, was their last? Did they do anything after Golden Abyss?
I don't think so. No.
Crazy.
Yeah. And,
no.
I mean, Santa Monica obviously has, multiple projects.
Well, they
but
said there's a God of
one
War.
them.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're helping like they're helping Giant Sparrow with Edith Finch.
Yeah, the what is it?
The
XDev.
The XDev.
Yep.
And then we have like, you know, we assume Gran Turismo is being worked on by Polyphony.
Yeah, and they said as much to us years ago. They would at least do a PS4 version.
Yeah.
If not something new.
I would be willing. I think that Media Molecule is working on something with Morpheus. I feel like that's like a tight fit.
And that's the thing, right? I think that might be
cool.
what the delay has been. I know.
Because originally it was like that thing was like very move centric. It was sort of like you were controlling like a puppet thing.
And apparently, like Evolution had, I think it was Evolution. So there was like some kind of VR central dev unit within one of the studios. I don't know, man. I think Morpheus is actually a really interesting game changer. I think Morpheus could be what has been the holdup for all of these.
Yeah.
I would hope, just like we were talking about with Vita and some of the gimmicky things, I would hope that it's sort of like games that are coming out natively to PS4 with like enhancements if you get Morpheus, or like a Morpheus version or something. But like, I would hope that like we don't see these studios making Morpheus only games.
Yeah, you don't want to see them
Yeah.
divide their install base.
There's that, and it's just that I'm personally just not. I'm never going to be a VR guy, and that's totally not me.
Thank you for saying that, by the way, because
Well, I mean,
I'm right
I'm
there
not-
with you.
I don't want to be closed-minded about it, and I will always try things, and maybe I'll change my mind. But it's like I have never.
He likes ice cream.
Let's talk after the show.
I have never worn glasses. And so when I go to a 3D movie, I have a point. I promise I'm coming around. Well, I've worn glasses, but I've never like had my own pair of glasses. Thank you for the offer there. You're back on my good list.
Thanks.
In case you're listening to this on your headphones, that was just awful.
When I go to a movie and wear 3D glasses, it's like super distracting to me, and I'm not immersed in it. And with VR, at least what I've experienced so far, like strapping that thing to my face, like no matter how incredible it is just for me personally, like very, very hard to feel immersed because I feel the weight of this thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because I feel like it takes those sort of moments, those epiphanies. Like Max went over it, what was it, like 2 months ago or so.
Yeah.
He was talking about his Morpheus demo, I think from GDC, the one where he was the dude who was like strapped to the... He was like
with the
getting
move
interrogated and
controllers.
everything.
That sounds awesome.
And
Yeah.
he, like his story was like that was the moment for him where he was like, "Oh my god, I get it now."
It like sold VR to him.
Yeah. And so I'm personally too, like I've had really cool tech demos, but I'm still waiting for that thing.
I agree with what Goldfarb's saying though, in that like if we are kind of in the middle of a drought-ish of first-party developed software on the PlayStation 4, then I wouldn't want them to split those hairs and start making Morpheus exclusive stuff.
Yeah.
Like I'd rather be able to say like, oh, these guys are making this thing, I can play it on PS4, rather than it. But we're moving all of our studios to these like headset games. Like,
We've also just seen this
less
so many
interested in that.
times. Like every dev does this. It's like your console is doing well. Like or every publisher rather, like let's keep on that train.
Yep.
I think Sony's smart enough to do that, but it's like, don't do the Kinect and the Move and all that thing where there's suddenly another peripheral and you have to, it's another barrier to entry where you have to buy this other thing to make it work. Like, I think Sony at this point, by how they've made every correct move so far this generation, I think they get it. And I would think that they've learned their lesson from past stuff and they're just going to say, hey, like, this is our rad new PS4 game. This is the new Gran Turismo, but if you have Morpheus, it's even cooler and you can do
I
X,
think
Y,
No
Z.
Man's Sky's gonna be the same thing.
But
Yeah, totally.
All that said, I think to make this thing run, you are going to have at least one exclusive killer.
It needs a killer.
I think you need something that only works with this. That is compelling and says to you. And by the way, and even and it may be the pack-in. I mean, this may be you're going to need a Super Mario Brothers for this thing, whether you pack it in or sell it.
Yeah,
That's a fair
it's
point.
just-
It works both ways. Yeah, you can't put it out to die.
The
You can't-
Kinect, the Kinect comparison's a good one, and not in that we're calling this like a broken gimmicky peripheral, because all
No, 'cause
signs
it looks
show that it's
amazing.
not.
Oh, yeah.
But Microsoft specifically called the Kinect. They treated the Kinect like it was a console launch in the middle of last generation. They said we are coming out with this new peripheral, but we were treating it like it's brand new hardware, and we're having a midnight launch for it and everything. We're treating this like it's a brand new console, basically. So that's something Sony's going to have to do, and you guys are right. It's going to have exclusive games for it.
What Sony could do that Microsoft never did with Kinect is actually give me a reason to buy the thing besides what looked like mostly Wii knockoffs. I mean, the Kinect's full potential was never explored. VR, there are things you can do with a VR game that you cannot do any other way.
Well, I
and
think
if they can give me that.
I think that the target audiences that VR are reaching for are inherently much older than anything that the Wii Remote or the Kinect ever did. Because the last thing you want to do is take a 7-year-old kid and put a helmet on him.
I mean,
or maybe you do if he's
$500
annoying.
helmet.
I mean, but also VR is so much bigger than video games.
Yeah.
Like, VR is going to be putting yourself at sporting events, putting yourself at concerts, putting it on, and all of a sudden it's a live feed of a cafe in Rio.
And even
you're
it's
sitting in a gorgeous corner on a sun-baked day.
That's
And
like the Google I/O
what
thing
you're
they
having.
just
Yeah.
showed, like the adventure thing.
Google
Yeah, Googlio. It's also that. It's also that.
I laugh at that. I shouldn't have laughed at that.
It's even as simple as like I can be in my apartment watching a movie, and instead of watching it on my 32-inch TV or whatever, I'm suddenly feeling like I'm in a movie theater, and it like looks as though it's like taking up the whole room.
I can commit a home invasion. You won't even know it.
Oh, I can't wait.
But
That's going to be my favorite thing.
I'm so glad you said that, though, Marty, because I mean there is a reason that Facebook bought Oculus, and it's kind of gone quiet after that. Like, oh well, what are they up to now? But you know, if you go back to your William Gibson and stuff, this really does have the potential to be like a world changer.
Yeah.
And we're not thinking of that in that terms because we're thinking video games, but.
Yeah.
Oculus or Morpheus or one of these really could change the way we interact with each other.
Well, and that's what everyone talks about. Video games are an input and feedback loop, right? And so like the input has generally been, you're holding a controller in your hands, or occasionally it's you are the controller with Kinect, like, or whatever. They try motion, try touch, whatever. But the feedback is the thing that has largely remained. I am looking at a screen and there's a digital character on it, and I know that limit. I know that there's like that glass wall between us. Theoretically, like VR is the end goal of it is for that feedback to be as realistic as the conversation we're having right now.
Yeah.
So it's like it is as though there's someone right in front of me, and I'm so immersed that I look to my right and I don't see my like living room wall. I see like an empty field next to me, and I see like I left this house and I turn back around and I can see that house behind me. Like I think like there's potential for
There is
that.
something so tragic about all of that.
Yep.
Yeah.
I
Just
completely
something
agree.
really dark and really scary and
Yeah.
dystopian about all that. And I think it's
Totally.
amazing. I think it's wonderful that I can go see. I can go to like my niece's birthday party from across the country, even if she hasn't been alive for 10 years or wherever they're going with this. No, because
But he's actually talking about something that could happen in our
I'm
lifetime.
world building
Yeah.
the tragic escapism that
Yeah.
will come with these things, and there's
Yeah.
something really dark about all this. And I think it's fantastic, but I also think that like you kind of there's no way to say this the right way, but I think that like
Plow through it.
I feel like there needs to be a certain level of acceptable psychological evaluation before you're really allowed to immerse yourself into one of these things.
And think about it
full time.
Think about 600 hours in The Witcher or whatever, as it is right now, just with a controller in your TV. Imagine trying to get out of that world if you're that obsessed with it, and if it's
couldn't
all
imagine.
encompassing.
Like it's gonna be one of those things where it breaks reality for you.
I feel like we just sound like old men right now, though.
No, I mean
No,
like
no. This is important. I mean, we're already, increasingly there's fewer and fewer reasons to even leave our houses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If we don't have a job that demands we come in, or something in manufacturing, or we have to interact directly, we can do our shopping this way. We can have our food delivered to us. We can, blah blah blah. And yes, it sounds like old man great, but the fact is, we might be forgetting about something so core and genetic that we're losing touch with.
And I feel like
what we are.
you could put somebody in front of the most beautiful real thing in the world right now, and they will rather look at their phones. And that's already like this tiny screen that we carry everywhere that is escapism for us. And losing touch with even the basic realities of going out and talking to people, or meeting people, or visiting places, or having a human interaction in some capacity.
I'm sorry, Marty. Go
No,
ahead.
go ahead.
It can make us conservative. It can make us narcissistic. It can make us self-absorbed. It can make us forget that we're a part of a larger
Already all
whole
of
that have
those
to watch
things.
out for each other. I mean,
Yeah.
I think that can be a danger
Yeah.
where we become
It's
so absorbed.
scary too.
Yeah.
Like I went to the Virgin Islands like a month ago, 2 months ago, and like I just deleted work email from my phone, didn't look at anything, literally like deleted Facebook, deleted Twitter, just only had my phone on me like in case I got lost and needed maps or whatever. And like having that break was like I haven't done that in my adult life, and it was incredible.
So we were talking about this morning.
Yeah,
how you were
I just
talking
did this too.
about, yeah, tell us about that.
So I just came back from a 2-week honeymoon in Europe, and I went.
Italy.
Speaking of Italy, I went to.
France.
I went to a bunch of places.
You
that-
took a train over to Italy, didn't you?
I did.
Yeah.
I did. So I
it
can
counts.
actually speak of Italy. But I went on my honeymoon, which is great. Like you find someone that you really care about, and you go on adventures, and that's awesome. And it's very different than a lot of what I think that the thing is, I travel a lot for this job, but it's not traveling in that capacity, like you just said, of shutting off your work email and just sort of exploring a real world. Like there's a lot of people that want video games to be more realistic, but they've never really left their town. And I don't think you really have the capacity to talk about how you want things to be more real when you haven't seen enough of reality. So, I mean, I went to Europe, and I went to Barcelona, and I went to Paris, and I went to Nice and Versailles, and I took a train to Italy, and I had a pizza, like a cartoon Italian. And I said, boppity
You shook your rolling pin.
Yeah.
Then you went and played some Mario Strikers.
I had flour all over my mustache, and I got back on the train. And it's great. And I came back, and I was like, man, time to catch up on all the media I missed. So like I went to go buy tickets for Mad Max, and I'll go see it this week. And then I'm like, I better play The Witcher, and I better play Splatoon and all this other stuff. And I went to play The Witcher, and I got about 25 minutes in before I was kind of like, this is really boring me right now. And I started thinking about why. And I'm like, why would one of the highest rated games of the year, this immersive, gigantic, incredible open world with bustling characters and beauty everywhere, be boring to me? And I think it's because like I just kind of did that in real life. Like
You
I
just
went,
saw like real beauty.
like
yeah.
I went to a small town in Italy that I've never heard of before, and I had no map, and I walked up a mountain, and there was a little town there with 100 people living in it, and there was a cathedral that was like 2,000 years old, and I walked into it, and it was terrifying.
And it was just a
And I'm the only
cathedral to
person in there, and they had
pizza.
this statue of dead Jesus laying there, and no one told me like it's safe. Come on in. It was just like one of the most video game things I've ever done.
So you saw that and then just went and got pizza in that same
I
scene.
saw that and I got pizza and then I had a beer and I had some Nutella ice cream and I got out of there. And it felt like I did a bunch of weird side quests in a strange NPC village that I didn't know anyone, and I had strange interactions with people, and I bought stuff with money I didn't understand, then I left. And it was one of the most video game things I've ever done. And then I'm kind of like, you know what? Like this is it's hard to jump back into a game like that or jump back into a world like that when for the first time in a long time, it's my first vacation in like 10 years. You know, this is not me preaching to you, vacation more. But like it was nice to go do something like that, and it made me come back and want to have kind of more similar experiences like that. And I had a hard time connecting with the video game world because I think there's still so much out there to see myself. And it's like, again, it's hard to say that on a video game podcast, but that's kind of where my head is at right now.
Yeah, I don't know. I think one of the reasons I didn't something like GTA 5 didn't connect with me.
Yeah.
Like I understood it's an amazing achievement. I totally get why everyone adores it, but sort of the exploring a city part, I'm like, well, I do that literally every day.
Every day.
I
Except
wander
with
around.
alcohol.
Yeah, except with alcohol. I wander around an amazing city every day, and every time I travel,
And NPCs yell random crazy things
yeah,
at
I
you.
live on like in the worst neighborhood of. Like,
you live in the GTA of San Francisco.
I do.
Where you walk down the street and someone's like, "Hey, baby," and then a car hits somebody. It's very GTA.
But every time I travel to LA or New York, or Chicago for work, I just wander around those cities and experience them. And I understand when I played the hell out of GTA 4, and I think that's because at the time I was a college kid in Milwaukee, and I wasn't traveling and I wasn't exploring the city, and so that escapism, I did that escapism through the game. Whereas the escapism I look for in games now are something very different. It's not like I don't want to go somewhere that I could literally go by opening my front door and walking. down the street.
That's exactly it. Like to me, escapism and realism are very different things for me. Like I don't want to really escape into the most brilliantly beautiful, realistic world where you can run your fingers through the blades of grass. Because I should be doing that myself. I mean, I look like the type of dude that would get arrested for running his fingers through the blades of grass. But still,
By the EPA,
no, I mean, I should be like, I mean, if I was in a park and I started running, the cops would show up. But I should be out and experiencing stuff. And when I play a video game and I escape, I want to go to a weird, crazy, different alien world that I can't go to. I want to visit a distant planet. I want to go try something artistically experimentational that's different than anything I've ever done. You know?
Well, I think as we get older, once we're past childhood, we don't learn all that much new. I mean, we learn facts. We learn things for our jobs.
your brain caps at a certain point.
Yeah, and so a lot of
I'm Republican forever now.
Well, that was one. But a lot of the
Where's
learning,
my gun?
A lot of the learning we do later in life is relearning things or remembering things that we already knew and having them brought back into contrast. You know, death has that effect on us. Love has that effect on us. I think that some of the best video game escapism and the things that still do resonate for me are the games that take me to maybe a very different kind of place and then remind me at the end or in the course of it of something about the real life that I live in that I've forgotten, and that's what makes it powerful or poignant. I think about, you think about the end of, do you ever read the Winnie the Pooh books?
Yeah.
The A.A. Milne? You get
Those
to
are
the
dark books.
Oh, yeah, you get to the end and Christopher
Spoilers for
Robin's
Winnie the Pooh.
it's I have to go away now and I can never come back.
Yeah.
And Pooh Bear's I don't understand. And Christopher Robin has to leave him, and Pooh never understands why Christopher Robin has to go or why he
It's like
can't
Harry
come
and the
back.
Hendersons.
Is that? It's exactly.
It's pure. It's pure fantasy, but it shows you something that you've almost managed to forget about life.
Is it to teach children about death? Do you think?
It's
No,
to teach
it's to
children
teach-
about growing up.
It's to teach children that if an adult man has constant dreams about a bear being friends with a tiger, he's crazy.
And
That's what
having
it's
robbed
teaching you.
everything of its beauty.
And that has to die when
right.
you grow up because you
it's-
can't carry that with you in any sociable, acceptable environment. For the rest of your life.
Winnie the Pooh analogies aside, no, he had to grow up. That's why he had to leave and couldn't come back. And Pooh couldn't understand.
Yeah.
But it's a fantasy story that reminds us of something poignant about life. Video games can do that, and that's when they're beautiful. But again, it's
I
to
love
get away
where
from
I love where
go
the
back to-
show goes.
Yeah,
sometimes.
what a weird little segment this was.
It's a great segment. I'm so
Beyond.
happy about it.
Yeah.
Beyond.
There's your Roper report.
Slightly different direction. More video game talk.
That's right. We're back.
We're back. Keith Ruiz.
you don't print these double-sided.
Letter. What?
You don't print these double-sided.
You want me to read this?
Yeah, you can read this. Andrew, shut up. Just fan yourself.
Why are you fanning yourself?
Fan yourself like
sweaty,
a
man.
Byzantine
You're from
emperor.
Texas.
I'm not from.
You're literally
I've been in
from.
I do declare.
That's Georgia.
Whatever. He's fanning himself like he's about to fall on a fainting couch. Just loosen up your corset. You
Shout out to
weirdo.
Chris Roper. Hey guys, I'm a new listener to the podcast, and I really only had one question. I wanted to ask, Sony insists on giving us more God of War, even if we are burned out on it, but there is one series I would love to see return instead, and in saying that, I'd love to see a sequel to the PS2 game War of the Monsters. It's no secret that kaiju are bigger than ever, no pun intended, with Pacific Rim and the like, aka Godzilla. This could be the perfect time to give us a new one for the PS4. So what do you guys think? I know there are some kaiju fans among you. At least bring it up to some of the Sony guys at E3 if you get a chance. Oh man, I love that concept of us being at the bar being like, yo, you guys like kaiju? And they're like,
what do you
yeah.
think of War of the Monsters?
You want to sink $2 million in a year or two in a kaiju game? Yeah,
I
let's do
want to
it.
be that guy. Absolutely.
Yeah,
Okay,
totally.
we are getting PS4 Godzilla this year, but there's no local multiplayer.
Really?
Yeah, PS4 Godzilla is coming. It has these neat like filters put over it to make it look like old movies. And I'm like excited, and I'm like, nope, you have to play multiplayer
love-
online.
That's a Damon Hatfield scoop.
Yeah, and I just like, what do you do with that?
I loved the there was one or two Godzilla fighting games on the GameCube that were really dumb but really fun.
yeah.
Godzilla Destroy All Monsters is good. The old SNES fighting game is really good. But there's all these weird Godzilla games. So you had like Godzilla Real Time Attack Simulator where you played as like the Japanese government attacking Godzilla. And
Yeah, I mean, I would love Earth Defense Force that's like Godzilla.
Yeah, that'd be rad.
Oh, that'd
Yes.
be great.
Or Rampage. Remember Rampage?
Earth Defense Force, another game that's
Rampage
Rampage
not
was-
so good when you come back.
Well, Rampage was kind of one of the first kaiju games, right?
Yeah, it was
I
one
would
of the
say
first.
Primal Rage
Definitely.
was also. I mean,
Well, that was dinosaurs, not kaiju.
well,
They're big monsters.
They're big monsters, and
Yeah,
there's
there were
tiny
monsters,
people
too, and
underneath
they
them.
They burped and flatulated,
Farted
and things
and peed
like
on
that.
each other.
Yeah, but there was that awesome C64 Godzilla game. What was that thing called? Oh, it was really good. You destroyed cities, and it was fun.
Yeah. No, I would love that. I think like the issue is sort of like the scale of it all. And how you sort of design that. A fighting game would be easier, like making it with destructible environments.
Well, they
and
did
stuff
pull
like
it.
that.
Yeah, there was a neat 2D fighter they did for the Super Nintendo. They ported it to a few other things, and it wasn't as good. But the
Clay Fighter?
No, it's just a Godzilla themed fighting game, like sprite based, really pretty, neat sound effects.
on
but,
Super Nintendo.
yeah, it was on the Super Famicom. It never came out over
I
here.
want like an open world GTA style game where there's occasionally kaiju battles.
Oh, that
And
would be great.
you're just doing missions, driving around,
The
listening to
amazing
DJ
thing is, like,
Premier, and all of a sudden,
there
like,
is,
They call occasional kaiju.
Have you played Attack of the Friday Monsters?
no, I
Oh,
heard
no.
about it though.
No, you're like the little kid in shorty shorts from every like Godzilla movie that's wandering around in the periphery.
Yeah.
You play as that kid, and you're just living your everyday life, and then like once a week, kaiju show up and fight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
That's
really
amazing.
neat. That's on 3DS, I think.
The fun thing about GTA is like they probably could.
Yeah.
Like, they're like UFOs and stuff, right? They could
Yeah.
throw a couple kaiju in there.
Totally.
DLC,
So-
kaiju DLC confirmed.
What? That's not confirmed at all. That's IGN's news editor, Andrew Goldfarb, just lied to you all. So going back to this, what sort of dormant PlayStation series would you like to see come back? Can you think of
Think
any?
about that.
I actually really would like to see another Siphon Filter. Like I know it's
Yeah.
kind of become like a running thing, but like I think those games are really fun and they're smart.
Yeah, and like I'd love to see because they took it. I mean, there was no PS3 version. There was a pretty good PSP game. Or
I
two.
believe that was the last one. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd be interested to see what. I mean, we had that sort of that fake engine demo of Medieval come out leak a few weeks. Well, not leak 'cause it wasn't real. But like that's one of those series. Like they put a lot behind that I'd be interested in. I'd like to see someone doing something with Maximo again.
Yeah.
It makes
Or
you
Ghost
wonder-
Ghost.
Oh yeah, man,
that'd
those,
be
those
fun.
are
It
really
makes
cool.
me wonder what they were planning with PlayStation All Stars. Like if they were planning to kind of kick off a couple of those franchises.
Yeah, to see how the response
what
to some of
happens.
those characters were.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If we're talking about stuff that just showed up on PlayStation platforms and nowhere else, I would still kill for a Einhander sequel. I'm never going to get.
Yeah, totally.
That'd be wonderful.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Bushido Blade.
There's a lot. Yeah, there's a lot of PS1 games, and there's stuff like Tamba and Parappa.
I would want something like
Yeah, have they not made a new Parappa game? That's weird.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
you've got Gemma Lammy, and then nothing
Yeah.
after that, right?
I would want something with Ape Escape. Like I feel like that's a franchise that went in so many weird diagonals. Like it was sort of like the WarioWare or Monkey Ball, where they just started slapping the name on it and it didn't actually mean
yeah,
anything
what happened?
anymore.
Remember when Super Monkey Ball was actually like
That was
good?
that was
and-
like
yeah.
Super
that
Monkey Ball
was
1
the
and
best
2 were
GameCube
like
launch game.
some of the
Yes,
best
for sure.
games.
Did you know that Justin Davis, who works in our office, was like third in the world at competitive Super Monkey Ball?
Yep.
He
And
likes
everything
to
went
talk about it all
downhill.
the time. Yeah.
He also owns TouchFuzzyGetDizzy.com.
Touch Fuzzy Get Disney, and I think another couple.
Also, crackhorror.com goes to IGN.
And Stormtroopers.com, right?
Stormtroopers.
Yeah.
Yeah. As long as it's,
But yeah, Ape Escape.
yeah. See,
Beyond.
do you think any? What? We'll see if any of those are going to be at E3. My guess, no, they won't.
Yeah.
Thanks, Keith.
The PlayStation press conference is just Tamba and Super Monkey Ball. Everyone's like horribly disappointed.
You picked this one, Brian. You want to read this last?
Yeah,
letter?
sure.
Yeah.
So obviously, a small independent gathering of creative, like-minded people is happening in the downtown Los Angeles regional area in 2 weeks at a small hotel called E3.
That's my favorite hotel.
There's literally thousands of press conferences this year.
Literally.
Now, Alex asks, are E3 press conferences worth it? Hello, Beyond Crew. Beyond, 2 things to ask. First, do you think press conferences like the ones done at E3 are worth doing anymore? Would a Nintendo-style event be more useful for consumers? Are the live events worth it? Although I personally love the hype and content IGN creates around E3, I think it's not worth all the money the game companies put into the press events. I would rather see them invest in making more games. Secondly, Marty, it's been 9 months. Where is the Duck Dynasty review we were promised? I just got to know if I should pick it up or not. Beyond, it's Alex, Soundman 5000 on PSN. Go add him, play games with him. Play Duck Dynasty with him. He obviously needs people to play with.
E3 transforms into the build-up for Christmas for me.
Yeah.
I realize this is terribly unprofessional, and I don't care. I get really, really excited about E3.
Any of us who don't get excited shouldn't be.
Yeah, we're enthusiast press.
Yeah,
I know, like I see people who are really jaded about E3, and it is a crazy workload from this side. But like, I don't know, this is like my, I think, 8th or 9th.
This is my 7th. Is it really or not? But do you
I went in high school. I went
to 2 as
You played StarCraft Ghost.
Yeah, I went in 2000. So I went as a high school senior. I went
I thought you
2004.
said Star Fox. I was like, geez, how long has he been doing
He
this?
played Star Fox 64. Yeah, I went in 2004, 2005, 2006, and then 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15.
Yeah.
However many that is. Anyway, that aside, like I still get excited, and I think it is like that press conference day, like 2 weeks from today, is like the most fun day of the year to do this job.
I mean, that being said, I've been to, all the press conferences, obviously, save for Bethesda and Square because these are new this year. I've been in the audience of all the other ones at one point or another. Honestly, watching them stream on IGN is just as good as being in that room.
Oh, yeah, totally.
To be honest, like there is something about that energy, but there's also like, hey, a lot of times you're in the back. Like, yeah, it's cool to be live at a basketball game in the back, but you know where you get a better view in front of your TV.
Yeah, totally.
I've actually never been to one of the actual live. I've been to like Gamescom conferences, but I've never been to any E3 conference in person. I'm always in the board.
Really?
Yeah.
I was
man,
at the
I've
last
been
Nintendo
to
one.
tons.
Yeah.
I actually
The last Nintendo one. Yeah.
Yeah, I was too. I feel like my problem with a lot of the press conferences is that actually being there. I think press conferences are fine. I mean, we talked about this in the show a couple weeks ago, how they're really stupid and awkward, but they do a good job of sending the message out. But being in the room feels really disingenuous because I'm almost always convinced that there's plants.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And not
applause
like
plants.
not
Absolutely.
not like
Ferns.
ferns.
Well, the
but
applause is so like fervent. Like they're so excited.
yeah, and because someone's like, and that's why we're happy to announce that the PlayStation family continues to grow. And people are like, yeah, it's a growing family. I really love the PlayStation. Like, it's just, don't do that. No one does that unless you work for the company. Yeah. And then like you do that kind of awkwardness, which is really funny. I love that. That's palpable and beautiful when it's just somebody.
I like that. I want to roll back for a second to what you said. Do you feel like they're actually well done? Because I think more often than not, I think about 60-40, they're bad.
Oh, I
watch
agree.
them, but I think that I'm often shocked by how poorly a lot of them come off, considering the amount of planning that goes into them.
They have high highs and low lows.
Well, yeah. So more so than the amount of planning, I think it's shocking that the amount of backlash they get still continues to help produce and create new versions of the exact same mistakes.
Yeah.
Like people make press conferences where there are just laughable parts. Like some guy comes out and he's like, "I'm Mr. Caffeine and I love coffee," and we're like, "Die! What are you doing? Stop it! Show us your game trailers!" Like, or like Pele's like, "I really like children, so that's why this is soccer game," and we're like, "What are you doing? Stop!" Or Sean White's like, "Here's pictures of my family trip." Like, no, like don't do it. And then they do that every year, and they keep making more of them, and we're all making fun of them in the sidelines. And now there's Twitter where there's millions of people being like, "This is the worst thing I've ever seen."
I mean, the one thing you have to keep in mind is that the parts of the conference we love are great.
Yeah.
But the conference is also for the buyers at Walmart.
Exactly.
Best Buy.
Yes.
You want to be like, Madden's going to sell a bajillion copies.
Yep.
And most of us don't care about the Madden E3 demo, but I bet during that EA conference they're going to devote 10 minutes to it because whoever buys games for Walmart and Best Buy are going to be like,
it's some guy with like a Bluetooth earpiece and he's like, "You see that Pele game?
Well,
it's Pele and he's got his own soccer game."
That's why I think
order
Alex,
1 million of them.
I think Alex has the right idea in this email, which is that Nintendo's consumer-facing direct is really interesting, and it does kind of redefine what these conferences are meant to do. Because I mean, like I think E3 is becoming increasingly irrelevant.
Yeah.
I think Gamescom slowly gets bigger every year, and I think having it open to consumers is a big deal. I think like the reason shows like PAX have been able to do so well is because like gaming has become more than just, it's like a huge billion-dollar industry, and part of that is the community around it, and is that like they should probably be open to the public. And I think these like very small focused trade shows like GDC or DICE can still exist, but E3, the spectacle of it, has kind of been replaced by these consumer shows. And so I don't know. I'll be really curious to see where E3 is in like 5 years.
Can I ask you any inside baseball question on that? I wonder.
Can you?
He
No,
doesn't know
absolutely
anything
not.
about
Absolutely
No,
not.
okay. All right.
Yes, please.
Okay, thank you. So since I can, behind the curtain there, so even with the spectacle, do you think the behind-the-scenes stuff that goes on in E3 is worth the trouble? I mean, we're talking about the spectacle end, and that's what gets everybody excited. It's a free commercial. They got free commercial time since everybody's there. Yeah. But do you think the business and stuff that does happen on that floor still justifies the existence of the company?
I mean, like the meetings are always going to happen, but like when it was tiny and in Santa Monica and split between hotels, that business still happened.
But didn't
like,
everybody hate it?
Of course, it was a huge catastrophe, and like I understand why they brought E3 back in its current form, but it's also like those business meetings are just as likely to happen at GDC or DICE or just privately in offices. Like, yeah, I think E3 is a time when everyone's in the same place, and I still love it, and I'm giddy like a child walking the floor, and I like that there's like this weird constant to it. Like you always know where EA's booth is, and like Nintendo's in the same place, and Sony's in the same place. Like I get some kind of weird like happiness from it. It's like a security blanket event for me. Like every E3 is, different, but it has these like sameness to it.
Yeah, and you go through that like we know it's going to be very long days.
Yes.
Whether you're working in the war room, whether you're working back on home team, whether you're on the show floor, it's going to be very long, arduous days.
I mean, hell, even if you're watching the streams, it's a long.
It's a full day.
12-hour event.
Well, especially this year because it bleeds into Sunday and Tuesday.
Yeah.
So. And now, like if you're, what is it? Tuesday morning, you're watching Nintendo and Square
God
at the same
help you
time.
like Nintendo and Square.
One's on your phone, the other one's on a monitor.
No,
if your boss is there, he's fine.
Well, yeah, but
the push up.
Yeah, I'm doing wiki coverage for both those at the same time. I'm still trying to figure out how that's going to work.
You got this.
Yeah.
But there's this note. I mean, Alex Soundman 5000 asked here about them sort of investing the money towards making more games. The amount of money that goes into marketing and sales and stuff like that in this industry is staggering.
Yeah.
Like it's actually, I mean, it's a significant portion of game budget.
Oh, yeah.
And this is all part of that.
To get on the sides of buses in San Francisco and to get trailers during the NBA Finals.
To be painted on the side of the Figaro Hotel. Or to like
or the top of E3, which is like Call of Duty. Just take all their money and they just throw it right up there every single year.
And that's why I don't think it's necessarily going away anytime soon. Like obviously like it is, E3 is here for years to come. I just think there are trends that I think like I'll be curious to see like now that there are like 755 PAXs, like I'll be curious to see like what kind of the breaking point is, like where the consumer shows versus the trade shows.
Like South was almost that breaking point.
Yeah, I think we're getting close.
Well, I think it's what happens is there becomes more shows and there becomes less at each show.
Yeah,
but now
over the course of the year.
Sony's got Paris Game Week and they've also got their Sony Con they did this year.
Oh, PlayStation,
or last year, whatever it was.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's a lot.
I'm gonna go this year.
Everything's kind of spread out. I like I said, we talked about the Nintendo thing. I do like their style of direct. What I appreciate more from it is the frequency of it. Like the fact that we got a mini direct today. And we'll get another one in E3.
It's
and
cool.
We'll get
Like the direct was able to highlight smaller games.
Yeah.
Like it was like the Dr. Mario thing and Chibi Robo.
So I'd love to see Sony do stuff like that, which every couple of weeks or every couple of months they're just like, hey, here's a half an hour of what we're working on.
Especially if Shuhei hosts it, I would watch anything. It could just be him reading a list of products.
Yeah, Shuhei and Ryan Clements, best friends forever.
Yes. All right.
I got really excited when Shuhei tweeted that there was Bloodborne DLC coming.
I'm super excited about that.
Very cool.
DLC. I bet you're gonna just cut a wolf open.
Oh yeah, you fight a whole wolf inside of
gonna be over.
Like
I saw
tauntaun?
someone tweet out. They said, "What I want the DLC to be is all of those coffins that are chained up in the game.
Oh
the
god,
chains open up." And like throughout the whole game,
that is horrifying.
So it's just like hundreds of coffins.
Oh my god, that's horrifying.
That's what I want.
Great.
Did you get into that game?
I haven't even tried it. I haven't been home to play a console in so long.
Okay,
that's because you've been in other people's homes.
I'm a traveling man. Yeah.
You are a squatter. Well, that was good. That was good. That was a good little show. We're gonna end with. I'll do my PlayStation Essential.
I bet I can guess what it is.
Yep, it's written there. It's literally right there with an exclamation
point.
point.
And you teased it earlier.
Yeah, and I teased
it
earlier.
The thing written with an exclamation point after it is Marty.
Nope, the thing right here is Tearaway with an exclamation point.
Okay, fair enough. It's
both
Tearaway.
have them.
You monster. Yes, so I think the first portable entry into this? I guess you said Guacamelee, which could be.
I
Oh,
said
and you said
Persona 4 Golden. Yeah.
All right, so the
You
first
said Persona 4 Gordon?
Sci-fi for it.
The hunt for fish sticks.
Yeah, Tearaway.
Oh, it's so good.
Which, in my opinion, is the best Vita game. As much as I love
Yeah.
Persona 4 Golden.
I think it's a pretty easy argument. to make.
Tearaway is Media Molecule. I think was the only studio that took all of the weird things about the Vita that people tried to shoehorn, like backtouch. People tried to shoehorn camera stuff, microphone stuff, and Media Molecule built a game around it where it didn't feel forced. It actually felt like a part of the game. And just the way that game breaks the fourth wall, just constantly in new and surprising ways. From all of a sudden you look up in the sun and that's you, or your fingers going through the back of the screen in order to help Iota. And, you know,
even like little things, like there'll be a cool environmental thing, and it's like, oh, like jump on that thing, and then you realize it's like the triangle button, or like whatever. Like,
in some ways, it's a very Nintendo school of game design.
Yeah,
they're just
absolutely.
like, hey, let's look at all the neat features of this thing and just figure out what's fun for each of them, and that's what the game will be. I think I'm a Persona devotee to the core for the best game on the platform, but Tearaway I think is the most original.
Yeah, and that's
and striking.
That's one of those games where it's like I'm super happy that Tearaway Unfolded is coming to PS4, which maybe we'll see more of at E3, because it's one of those games that is so incredible that not enough people got to play just because of the lack of Vitas out there.
What was
And
it?
I hope
it was like 21,000 units or something got
Something
moved.
like super
something of
impressive.
just it was below abysmal. It was just actually tragic.
and which is a shame because it reviewed so well.
Yeah.
Like the reviews were like incredible. Yeah, like I love that game. I will be I can't wait to play Unfolded because I'm curious to see if it can
How it
keep that.
translates?
Yeah,
Yeah.
like if it can maintain that feeling, because honestly for me, like the touch stuff was surprising and so just happy and pleasant
and
and
sort of like,
interesting.
it was that game that was great to play. Like it had this intimacy to it, where like you wanted that world literally in your hands, because that's the whole thing.
I know.
Like, that was what the game was about, and it was about like being close to it.
Oh, I'm so glad you said that. There are certain games. I think one of the reasons that only certain genres work on PC really well, for example, is just having that monitor right there in front of your face makes such a difference. I think Tearaway, that's a perfect example of the same kind of thing.
Well, it was
right
it was
there.
that sort of like tangibility to everything of the believing that this entire world could be constructed.
Yeah.
You know,
Yes.
like there's
Even
something-
like the ripples in the water. Like
Yeah.
there are so many details walking around that world where I'm like, oh, that is so cute and clever. And it gets hard. Like some of the platforming elements later are like
totally.
actually like
Yeah.
legitimately challenging. And like the very end, like towards the end, like no spoilers, or as much as you can spoil it. But it's just like the worlds become really varied and interesting, and it, like the puzzle solving is interesting. The mechanics, like what I like about that game is you're constantly getting a new mechanic, almost in that like Metroidvania style of like I feel like I am expanding my tool set.
And as soon as you master one, you become a novice at the next.
Exactly. Yeah. Like I love that game. I've wanted to replay it for a while, and I'm waiting for Unfolded because I want to see how it works on PS4.
Yeah, I'm super curious to see if it's able to sort of maintain that same level of magic. And yeah, for as great as, or as much as I sort of appreciate what Little Big Planet did, I wasn't, like, I appreciated it more than I liked it. Whereas with Tearaway, I'm just like, man, these guys are some of
Yes.
the
I totally agree
Tearaway
with
is
that.
just a
creative, clever
masterpiece.
people.
Like that game is just so good and smart.
It's good.
It's like Jared Petty of video games.
Oh, Goldfarb, you were so sweet. Oh my gosh.
This is weird.
My
You
ego
guys
is
are-
being stoked. Thank you.
I hate you, Marty.
You guys are weird. Why do you...
I'm trying to balance. It's like,
For balance, the yin and the yang. Love and hate.
I'll never ask you inside baseball again, Goldfarb.
Oh, thanks, man.
You'll always have inside baseball.
Always.
I know what that means. We did it. That was episode 397.
do we have anything
wow.
else to talk about?
Oh,
Maybe
yeah,
a little,
we do.
A little thing coming down the
A
pipeline.
little thing
Yeah.
coming up June 27th.
Dun dun dun.
Dun, dun, dun. I think we're all going to be there.
be
Podcast
there.
Beyond episode 400 live in San
Yay.
Francisco, California.
Yay.
Tandem event with Podcast Unlocked 200. They're separate podcasts. Don't worry. Some people were worried that it was going to be like a giant 8-person cast of just screaming at each
No,
other.
it's actually
it's
gonna-
unlocked and then a big gap and then beyond.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Are we going to have a rumble?
It's actually going to end like Anchorman.
Oh, wow. That's great.
Do I have to kill myself?
No, we're gonna beat
I have
each
to
other
chop-
up with
I have to
consoles.
cut my own head off.
Yeah, I'm gonna smash a PS4 over Ryan McCaffrey's head. You heard it here first, Xbox boy.
we are.
You're going down.
I'm going to go get one of those big wooden things that look like a bishop that he's like,
Yeah,
holding.
I'm kidding. There will be no fanboy wars there, just slightly.
But yeah, it's gonna be a big event. We're gonna have a ton of IGN past, present, and future there.
Yeah, so I was at Podcast Beyond 200 as a fan and then joined the company. Miranda was at 300 as a fan. So maybe you will be at 400.
That's right. We hire specifically from every 100 podcast
Yeah, from
episode.
that pool.
We talked about possibly revealing the news ghost.
That's right.
That was a weird idea we had. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Oh yeah. You were. I looked at you.
Do
I
we
was
know
like,
who
you
he
were
is?
in
He
Italy.
was
Yes,
in
yes.
Italy. Yeah.
It's gonna be amazing. There's gonna be
Just a
there's gonna
dude
be
with a sheet. Because that could get weird.
meet and greet podcasts, really cool original stuff.
Hugs and kisses.
Hugs, kisses, really
Drugs.
fun. It's gonna be
No
awesome.
drugs.
We are finalizing our Eventbrite for the event. We're going to have it up shortly. I mean, very shortly. I think Brian and I literally just missed a meeting about that. That's fine. Who cares?
Beyond.
Yeah, follow us on Twitter. We're going to we'll let you guys know as soon as all those details are up. I am at McBiggity. Brian, you are at Agent Bizzle.
That's right.
Andrew, you are at Garfep. And Jared, you are at Petty, Jared.
Indeed, I am.
One
And the
word.
comma's all spelled out.
Also, can I shill before we get off?
Shill away,
Shill
my
away.
friend.
Yeah, IGN Wiki is looking for Marvel Cinematic Universe
MCU.
input. When an Avengers #2 from 1963.
Is that a comic book?
Yeah, it's a comic book.
How much
It's,
is that worth?
Second issue Avengers, about $4.25 for the
$4.25 for
$425.
Hell
We're giving
no.
that away?
I enter the
Yeah,
contest.
we're giving that away.
I help out with the wiki?
The best contributor, go to Marvel Cinematic Universe Wiki. You are not eligible.
Can I just break a bunch of embargoes and put it in the wiki?
See me after. Yeah. So, it's the first prize is Avengers #2 from 1963.
Holy, that's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, it's in VGDF condition. It's very
Couldn't
nice
get
looking.
number one, huh, Jared?
No, we couldn't.
It's a fantastic prize.
That's the answer to that. So, but yeah, and some other prizes too. But if you're into comic books, if you're into Agent Carter, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., or any of the movies, go on down there and please take a look around.
Yeah. Read all the news on IGN. That's what Andrew's working on. Brian's got a bunch of cool original videos. Well, you're getting back in the fold, but I'm sure you're going to have a bunch of cool stuff leading up to E3.
I'm busy. Yeah, I'm busy.
You're a busy
So
bones.
it's good.
We'll do a video. Can I do a video with you?
Yeah, what do you want
Don't
to
do
do?
that.
I don't know. Let's talk about it.
How about I punch you?
Absolutely
on video.
done.
I got to do
It's
that.
on video.
I'll hug
Brian is also on NVC, the Nintendo podcast.
That's right.
Listen to that. I am on Unlocked, the Xbox podcast. Listen to that. Download or buy IGN Prime.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's good.
It's good. You get some free games, but you also get rid of ads, and it helps keep the lights on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it helps keep us podcasting and everything, so that's fun.
Yeah.
Please keep us employed.
Yeah.
We like it.
Do all that. Just be nice to each other. Thank you for being lovely. Sign up to
Oh,
the
Podcast Beyond Facebook group.
Podcast Beyond Facebook group. That place is
right.
amazing. Everyone has nice conversations. No one's ever mean. No one calls me homeless.
Be excellent to one another.
Yeah,
Party
just-
on, dudes.
Yeah, be good.
Yeah.
Brian
And,
has an album you can download for free.
That's
yeah.
right. It's called Misanthrope.
Yeah.
Go to misanthropealbum.com, download it for free, or
Andrew-
pay what you want if
Andrew
you like
was
it.
in Gilmore Girls for a little bit.
That's right.
No, I was in Gossip Girl.
Good.
I'm trying to buy a Dr. Robotnik costume for Jared Petty.
Oh, I'm in. If you buy
We've
it,
been
I
working on
will
this for a
wear it.
while. Someday we'll get there.
I
Not a
smell
real
a
thing.
400.
This is not a real. Ooh. And on that note,
I want you to be ordering giant traps to fill with animals. You're on the phone. I need a garbage can that can fit about
I will do
75 squirrels.
No, I am totally up for this.
Oh, I love you, Jared.
Dr. Robotnik, Baymax for Halloween.
That's
Let's go get drunk,
awesome.
Marty.
Yeah.
I'm
It's
gonna
really
go
good.
drunk. And on that note, beyond.
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 Beyond. Beyond.